Hey, my name's Julian Faust. Welcome to the Profits and Panels podcast. Today, I'm joined by Derek Hansen. Derek, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Julian, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure. I'd like you to just take us back to when you started your business and what inspired you to do it and why specifically work in the energy sector.
Wow, that's a lot of that's a lot in one question.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try to go from the beginning here and give you a little context. I grew up around in an entrepreneurial family and around a business that my parents had started. When I was very young, I watched them grow that business, and then eventually, after doing a few other things, came back and actually worked in the company with the family with the intention to grow it significantly, and as we did. From there, after man, close to 2 decades of working my way up from the bottom of the company, the kind of the lowest entry point in the company, to eventually in a leadership role. I had seen an opportunity in the market through the work I was doing with that company, which had a kind of an ancillary one of the segments that we focused on was commercial energy efficiency with our product that we had, which was it was related to the glazing industry. And through that work, I got a viewpoint in working with some of the national energy consulting groups, groups like Chevron Energy and Train Energy and large groups like that. I got a viewpoint on what was going on in the energy efficiency and clean energy world. And what I saw was kind of a fragmented market, at the mid-market space. So at the big campus, corporate, campus level, at the municipality, government level, there was a lot of companies focused on that. Down at the residential level, there was a lot of, information being shared with homeowners about what they could do to make their home more efficient and so on. But nobody was speaking to the largest segment of real estate, which is the mid-market commercial and industrial space. And I saw in my work a lot of facilities managers, a lot of real estate owners, investors, all kind of scratching their heads saying, hey, we know that there's an opportunity here. We just don't know who to turn to. Do we start with the consultants? Do we start with the engineers? Do we talk to contractors? How do we do this? So my kind of, after seeing some of this, some laps around some of these deals and being a part of them, I realized that there was an opportunity to bring kind of a holistic, or maybe you might call it a turnkey end-to-end services type of business. I first intended to build that as a segment of the company, the family business, which had grown fairly significantly at that point, but really found that it was just the DNA of that company was just too baked. It was too well established, and trying to create something totally new within the structure of that company wasn't going to work. And so I found a way to step back from my leadership role in that company as CEO and hand over the reins to others. And I took some time off to write a business plan and kind of do a bunch of research on where the market was at, where I thought the opportunity was, create a business plan, and then go start looking for some investment capital to start this new company. After about close to a year of that, Mint was born, and so we launched in 2014 as a full suite of energy efficiency and renewable energy services company. And we had some kind of unique, what we thought was very unique at the time, approaches to that mid-market commercial space. And so 11 years later, the company's evolved and changed quite a bit, but it's still based in its core thesis.
Would you say that you felt very comfortable stepping away from your previous business and hopping into this new one because of your entrepreneurial background with your parents?
Well, after now in our hiring processes, well, and also just in building out our teams and understanding the people that work within the company, we do a lot of what you might call personality tests or profiles, where we can understand our kind of core fundamental personality traits as individuals and how they work together with others and how to build our teams in the right way. And one of the things that consistently comes up about me is I have a very high risk tolerance, right? I was kind of and maybe it comes from growing up in an entrepreneurial family. It could come from being adult diagnosis dyslexic, meaning through school I had to find and create my own ways of getting good at making it through school. And so for me, risk is my ability, my risk tolerance is much higher than most people's, which is a good and bad thing, right? It's something to pay attention to. But yes, so it was scary. I will tell you that at that time I had two young boys, our sons, in diapers. I had recruited my wife when I was dating her to work for the family company. She's brilliant, finance accountant, and now CFO. And we needed that at our old company. And I talked her into working for the family business while dating her and eventually getting married. So by the time we launched this company, our kids were something like, 3 and 4 years old, toddlers. And so, yeah, I had to sell a home, that our family home, take any money we could, sold everything we could, kind of stockpiled some cash, worked on commission only. So as I brought in some deals for my family business, I could get some commissions to kind of limp along, did some other things to make some money. And so it was a really high risk thing. I don't know many people that would take that on at that moment in their life. Thank God my wife trusts me as much as she does to believe in my vision. But I can tell you that by the time we got done, we got to a point negotiating with our seed investors, kind of an angel. A couple guys formed a group to give us some seed capital to get started. By the time we actually made the agreement, got our operating agreement in place, and did the deal, and got a check from them, I was right at the edge of not being able to pay rent. I had stretched it that far. So I was somewhat desperate at that point to get that check. I can tell you, yes, it's scary, but I'm somebody that likes to bet on myself and create circumstances at which I know I can win in. And in those early years of business, yeah, I mean, I worked 16-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, just to make it happen. But I believed in what we were doing. I believed in what was possible. And so now you fast forward 11 years later, um, and all of the primary goals that I had for the company that were really just big dreams at the time have happened and are accomplished and are continuing to get even bigger as we continue to grow as a company. So I'm really good at looking for people that have the skills that I don't, and I'm really good at recruiting those people into believing in the vision that I have. And so I've surrounded myself with people that are stronger than I am in my weak areas, and that allows me to do what I double down on, what I maybe my superpower. And so just building a team of good people around you is fundamental. And so, yeah, it looks like high risk and it's scary, from one viewpoint, but I think because of the way that I looked at it strategically, I knew the steps I had to take to de-risk it along the way. But yes, absolutely scary and risky, but I kind of live for that. So, I'm maybe an anomaly there, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs are this way.
And you mentioned that you decided to recruit your wife for the business, and I don't want to get you in trouble with her, but what are some of the positives, but also like what are some of the difficulties with working with someone you're so close to and wanting to drive the business to be the best it can be?
Well, it's a great question, and I've been asked that something similar to that before in the past, and I can tell you, there's the downsides are pretty obvious, right? The downsides are that you live and breathe work together. It is all encompassing. There is no family dinner where it was like, hey, honey, how was your day? Oh, good. How was yours? It's like you're still discussing the challenges of the business that pays the bills and the bills for many other families at the same time. And so it is basically an all-encompassing kind of thing. It takes over your life. That said, my wife and I work fantastically together because we're darn near opposites on the spectrum. She is very, very meticulous, systems, process driven person, as you would imagine, an accountant type mind to be. I make a joke sometimes. It's like she has a computer chip in her head. She can remember things at a granular detail that I can't even, just blows me away. That said, she's a little bit more risk averse, right? And so she likes to plot and plan things really well. And so it works great where I can dream big and swing for the fences and then work with her to create operational systems that help us get there. And then she can really do the hard work of making sure that we have the capital at any given time to succeed. The benefits of it are that you have somebody in a business partner. So when we started the company, the primary business partner was her, and a couple investment partners and a couple other folks early on. But uh, somebody that you can truly trust. I mean, this is somebody that you've built a life with, that you would trust with your own life, and so it's easy to trust them in business. The other thing that's really beneficial is that you tend to, and I think most good couples probably would say this, that you end up being able to read each other's minds a little bit. You know each other, you know them probably better than they know themselves. And so there's this really, really interesting synergy that can occur in working with somebody that you're that close with. And I have since found a way to build bonds similar to that with other either partners in the company or very high level, executive level folks in the company where we just work in a very, very close fashion. So we learned early on that we were going to have to bring our kids into the conversation. that either they were going to be sidelined bystanders watching their parents devote their life to something that they didn't understand, that seemed like it took all of mommy and daddy's attention, or we could bring them into the conversation and explain the business, things that are business fundamentals, business metrics, why we're making decisions, what mommy and daddy are talking about, what happened today that is causing mommy and daddy to have this discussion. And we would just pull them into that. And what we found, now they're one's 15 and one's 16, we found that they're surprisingly strategic thinkers. One, without being taught or trained at all, is a fantastic chess player. Crushes me, in like 3 minutes on the chessboard. And I think some of it has to do with them growing up hearing about things that are pretty sophisticated concepts and topics around the dinner table, as opposed to who won the baseball game, or who's playing, what I mean? Like the nonsense that a lot of us talk about. Our conversations as a family were very business based. And when I say business based, business is about people, first and foremost. Businesses are people. It's a collection of people agreeing to work towards a common goal. And so when I say business conversations, most of those conversations have to do with people. And so I think it raises at kids that age, it helps to elevate their emotional intelligence along with some of the, fundamental things like, mathematics and whatever. But that human element was great. So that's how we decided to do it. Good or bad, I don't know, but it works really, really well for us. I can tell you that my wife and I sit at totally, we're pretty far apart from each other in the office. We maybe speak 2 or 3 times a day. We have found a way to, when we come to the office, it's just business. We just put on she puts on her CFO hat and I put on my CEO hat, and we go to work as if we're just playing roles. And it very, very, I think it must be interesting for others that know us as a married couple and know us outside of work to see us that way. But we are just business partners executing, and we go home and it changes. But yeah, I don't know. We found a way. I have to say, a lot of it's luck too. A lot of it's just thank the Lord that it worked that way, because I could see it being very, very problematic if it didn't work as well as it does.
And last time we spoke, you talked about how you're at a very comfortable point when it comes to revenue in the business, and you're just looking to optimize things. Are there any steps you've been taking to free up time in your day or your employees' day by removing repetitive tasks from the equation?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's one thing as you grow a business. Growth is something, I guess I'll say it this way. Growth is interesting because whatever you're growing, whether it's a fundamental flaw or a brilliant idea. As you grow, it magnifies. So the negative aspects or things that aren't efficient can become even more efficient as you grow. Everything expands as you grow, right? So what we have found through trial and error is that you cannot just be focused on growth in a business without at the same time be focused heavily on efficiency. And maybe beyond efficiency, you might use the word effectiveness, right? So being efficient is true. It's doing more with less. It's truly a good thing. However, outcomes are really what we're after in business. And so when you kind of just use a slightly different term, which is how effective is that time spent? How effective is that process or system that we're utilizing? And so I like to, every so often, and businesses tend to, I think, grow in some major stages as you plot a course forward. You can start to predict when these stages, these kind of impact moments may occur. But every so often I'll stop and I'll have to ask myself, that which got us here is not necessarily what will get us to where we're going. And so you have to be willing to not be married to what you thought were brilliant ideas 2 or 3 years ago are dog shit now, right? And they just don't work the same now at this scale or this size or this part of the market that you're going after, whatever it may be. And so we're always asking what isn't working and what could be working better, and what do we know actually works right now. And so I will say that there are a lot of tasks that are now, and everybody's talking about it, so it's a little cliche at this point, but that AI can do in a heartbeat that used to take a person time in both mental capacity and time to accomplish. And so little tasks that can be automated through AI are incredible, and using systems instead of people, meaning you can get a group of people to do a series of steps and stages to get to an outcome that have to be discussed and navigated through that human element. Or you can put a system in place that just says, when this happens, then this happens, then this happens. And so, yes, people are still involved, but that human element of decision making or emotionality around it gets toned down. That dial gets turned down a little bit. So, yes, you can kind of drop some of the things where when we were in startup mode, it was scrappy, man. Every minute, every hour was some new challenge that we had to come together, three, four, five, six, seven, whatever the number was at the time of us to just figure out. Well, you get enough reps through some of that and you can start to turn those into processes and systems. So, yeah, good question. But certainly, yes, we are trying to constantly look at how to become more effective through efficiency.
What steps have you taken to involve AI in the business, or are you looking to do that in the present moment?
We are, yeah, we're actively using AI a lot on a simple kind of pedestrian level where we have people using it to check their writing for client facing engagements, maybe polish up something, put it in a little bit better format. We are using it to go through larger documents, let's just say V2 business plans, things like that, to help bring in more context or to articulate things in a cleaner way at the more sophisticated level. And I think a lot of groups of this, and I'm sorry to all the legal professionals out there, but it's doing a tremendous amount of legal work for us, meaning you still have to have your desired outcome within the legal, let's just say you're negotiating a contract. But contract review used to take a person that truly understood contract language, truly understood what the company's needs and desires were, truly understood what the counterparty was after and what they were trying to get to go through it and redline it and make notes and all this. Now you can kind of set AI up in a way to where it'll do that in what used to take somebody 3 or 4 hours or maybe 3 or 4 days, it'll do in a few minutes. And so things like that. We're also using software that has AI capabilities built into it. So we're fans of software platforms that are already embedding AI for a quicker, more thoughtful process that is not so static, where it's adaptable over time as the usability adapts or the inputs I guess change over time, that the software can kind of evolve with that. Yeah, I think it's an important thing to do, but I am never ever going to, well, I don't know, I don't want to say never, but I do not see a future where humans with all the brilliance that we are born with will get outmoded in business by AI. AI is a tool, for at least for us at Mint, to become more efficient or to become more effective
Yeah,
and to streamline things.
I'm in complete agreement with that. At the moment, especially, like you can do these repetitive tasks using it, but I mean, you do need the human mind to problem solve a little bit and be creative in that aspect. So
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool tool. I love it, and I love it as a time saver. And honestly, more than a time saver, what I've seen, Julian, happen in our company is it's reducing mental emotional fatigue and breakdown, right? Or that kind of slow burn grind that kind of wears people out. Because I think that we don't mind working hard on things that we're passionate about, that we love, that we know that we're. I always say that if you're working within this kind of general zone of your superpower, you almost always love doing it and can do it for long periods of time. It's those, like you said, repetitive tasks, those things that just feel like we're not tapping into our greatness while we're doing that type of work. Man, if we can push a bunch of that off onto AI to handle it, it helps. It really does. So I watch people have a little bit more spring in their step, a little bit more excitement throughout their day, because so much of what they used to do that was just this kind of grind stuff is not happening as much.
Yeah, yeah. And sort of going off of that, what metrics do you think you want to improve within the business, whether that's using AI or just other things in general that you'd like to improve? Like whether maybe it's revenue going up or increasing sales conversions. Where's your mind at with that?
You know, those metrics are always, as any business manager knows, those are very important metrics, right? Your three or four big ones, which is just, sales conversion, revenue, gross profit, net profit. All those are important and all those are laced into all of our day-to-day leadership conversations. However, I'm far more interested in how to get the results we're after while increasing work enjoyment. So a lot of the work I do as a CEO is conversations with folks about what it is that they hate about their role versus what it is that they absolutely love about what they do. And finding ways to help them spend more of their time doing what they love and less of their time doing what they don't love. Now, this is what it gets really interesting. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So that thing that that person just hates, somebody else loves it. You just got to figure out who that is and line those two people up, right? So I guess what is always important to me, I'm a kind of a culture first business guy, and that I think that if you build a fantastic culture, maintain a fantastic culture, you will get brilliant people. Brilliant people, if given a target and a goal and a track to run on, will get outstanding results. People that are happy do great things, right? People that love the people they work with come together and come up with great ideas. So culture for me is like the bullseye in the middle of the target, right? That I'm always aimed at. So the question that I've been asking and asking some of our leadership team lately is, at what point do we see growth taking us out of our ability to maintain this culture, and in a place where everybody's inspired and everybody is thriving? So far we don't see that. We don't have a visible limit to where that is yet, but that is one of the questions I do ask myself. So some of the things I'm looking to improve is how to take some of the key holders of the culture, myself and some of the other founders here, and pass that on to the next layers of leadership so that they know how to maintain and operate within this culture. Culture is one of those things that's very difficult to define. It's very difficult to articulate. It's a lot of different things all at once. And so, how to make sure that this company, no matter how far it scales, keeps that culture. And so, the question that we're asking is, at what point do companies, and we've seen it happen, lose their culture and then therefore start losing their great people? And then therefore they may be doing a lot more revenue, but it's not long until they start losing market share, losing some of their top customers, losing some of their top people, not being innovative. It just all starts a downward slide. So that's the thing I'm most interested in understanding as we continue to grow. There's this flywheel effect. Once you hit this inflection point, growth just happens. It just begins to occur. And it's by doing great work that begets more great work. And tuning and optimizing for profitability, of course, is a really important factor for me at this point too. Just how do we get more efficient, therefore more net profit out of the work that we do every day?
Okay, yeah. And what would you say is the biggest pain point for you within your business right now? I know you said you want people to be more fulfilled in the work they do, but is there like specific tasks that you know people hate doing that you just want to get rid of, or what are you thinking there?
Yeah, I think the biggest pain point is maintaining fast growth at scale while capitalizing on people's superpowers, yet having them have the ability to train the next generation in doing the same thing, right? So it's this, you on one hand have to go slow to go fast, meaning training that next generation of team to support you as a leader slows you down a little bit. But if done effectively, it actually speeds you up in the near future. And so I think one of the pain points that I'm currently, and that the leadership team here is currently discussing, is how to pass on that same mentality. There's a unique quality to founder mentality, right? It is entrepreneurial. It is high. It is there's an appetite for risk. There's an intrepidness. There's an inventiveness. There's but yet how do you embed that as part of the culture into the second and third layers of leadership and do it in a way at which they don't feel overburdened, let's just say, in both learning something that is a little bit nuanced in business and yet teaching it at the same time. So that's kind of one of the quagmires. Is I guess you could say it's systematizing culture and organizational organizational culture, how to systematize that. That's where we're at now. I mean, we've got a still a fairly small head count comparatively to, in that mid-sized business. But as we look to continue growing, that's one of the challenges for us, is just how to maintain that, utilizing people's highest best use in the company while making sure they have the bandwidth to train and develop others while maintaining that culture throughout that process.
Derek, thanks so much for joining us today. Where can our audience find you online?
Oh, shoot, you can look at us at mintsystems.com. That's MYNT SYSTEMS, mintsystems.com. You can find me, Derek Hansen, on LinkedIn, and certainly reach out at any point to talk to me about anything. I love to mentor new businesses as people are getting them off the ground. I love to talk to people about business, and so we're very accessible here, and we're certainly here to answer any questions around sustainable real estate and clean energy in general. Thanks so much, Julian, for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.